Good morning. There's a big movement lately of people talking about not owning anything and how we shouldn't own anything, and like that's kind of the Great Reset or the World Economic Forum's idea is you'll own nothing and be happy about it, and right? And they're seeming to be getting that idea out to people through subliminal messaging or something because people are against the World Economic Forum and stuff like that, but they're still talking about how nobody should own land and such like that, or if there is only certain land, then it should only be certain people that own the land, and that just gets so convoluted and a little freaky too, to be honest, because we have to know that um, these like aristocracies, like these rich people like that are controlling. If we don't have any land, then we have nothing to push back on, right? So landowning in democracy are a hand in hand thing. Like the people need to be in ownership to have proper democracy. And you know, when I think about why people are so willing to say jump at this story, is look what's happening to our country as far as house costs and land costs, right? And people are like, well, what is going on? Like, I'm never gonna have a chance to own a house. And fair enough. Like, in places like this is 79% just in Vancouver alone. It takes 79% of pre-tax interest to own the average of an average income to buy the average house, which is like it's mathematically impossible to own a house at an average house at an average income. So and like that I'd say that would be very close to the same here in Nelson, BC, right? So of course we're going to be like, it's going to make us resentful, and instead of being like, how can I push harder and try to find a way to acquire land or be a part of a land ownership in a community or something like that, they turn right to nobody should own anything. Well, if you get that idea into too many people's heads, guess who owns the land? And we all think nobody owns anything. Well, the same thing as what's going on now is the government, or this corporation called the government, that owns the land and even is taxing us on the land anyways. Like, I only have a certain amount of freedom because if I didn't own my land, then all they'd have to do is get the permission of the owner of the land to come and do something to me, right? So the landowner can trump me on a lot of things, and if I didn't own my own land, right? So that gives me a lot of freedom to do what I want and push against a tyrannical system. So we need to be very careful with throwing this idea around about no land ownership, right? We have to know, yeah, maybe we should promote who owns the land. You know what I mean? And promote the people that are being like fair with their money. You know what I mean? Like make a judgment on a situational basis rather than throwing the whole thing under the bus. Nobody owns land. Like we have to be. That is dangerous, and I hear it so often that I'm like, what do we do if this wave gets out of control? Well, this is how you create resentment in people that don't have land or don't have the basic needs met, and know how you create these people is you make it so they can't get land and they can't barely feed themselves, so they become resentful, and then they can become your little sociopath or pissed off army of resentful people, right? And you know how they do it is like, if you've heard of BlackRock and Vanguard, Vanguard is the same company that was trying to outbid and block Elon Musk's Twitter buy, right? So, why would they be involved with trying to shut down Elon Musk, right? Well, these people are going around buying up houses for easily 20 to 30% more than asking price. And you don't even need, in Canada, which is absolutely corrupt to me, is you don't need to put in on your paperwork who actually owns it. You can just have somebody represent you, which means that is just open fucking play for money laundering, is it not? And people are like, why are the house prices going up? We don't have a booming economy. Like, what's the deal with this? Well, this is that system that's pushing hard on the people, that makes the people resentful, and then when they get their people resentful, they feed them with the bullshit out through their phones to make them more resentful, and then they put them all into groups together in mass, like these movements like the bad side of Black Lives Matter, because I understand why people say Black Lives Matter, but we have to see what that movement really ended up being, and so we need to fight for these for inequality, and we have to figure out a way to um, redistribute wealth. But that's like literally, I don't know, I am not at all understanding of that. But here's an idea: how about we change our bylaws, make things so strict? As out of 37 countries, we have the longest wait time, or we're number 36 for the longest wait times to get building licenses, right? And not only that, it's to get building permits for houses in Vancouver. Is just they were talking about this one. I'm gonna put the video below to give you some more ideas of the numbers, but it was like $600,000 just in government taxes. So do you think that we should come after each other like they're promoting us to do? Like nobody owns anything, right? Or should we go after the aristocracy that's happening? Like we don't lack land. One person, we could have, if we all spread out across all of Canada, one person would have 3 CFL-sized football fields to sit with, right? And we're social animals. We don't need that much space between each other. But look at how much, if we can, and I know like there's the cold zones and there's places we can't live, but we are changed. Weather is changing, and we need to like change how we work. And this means we have to start breaking laws and bylaws and municipal bylaws, because they are the ones that are stopping us from making it realistic to go and build a tiny house on land outside. In bylaws on my property, they say I can only have 1 kitchen unit on my property, and I live on 2.5 acres. Why do they make it so I have to sit up in my land and not be able to have another family live here? This is where our problems are. It's not lack of land ownership. It's the laws that allow us the vision to go for our dreams, right? I imagine farmers' fields that are not being used because of the centralized system that we're going into becoming used again to grow good food by communities in small houses. But we have to work on our municipal governments to be able to pass these bylaws, to be able to work these systems out properly without pushback or overtaxation or pushback on how long the damn building codes go. There is a happy medium between regulation and free for all, right? And we're way over here in the darkest bureaucratic BS behind building codes and getting people housing, right? What is going on in this country? Okay, instead of turning and being resentful and that you don't have land and you don't have your we don't have our basic needs, and we need to stand up and do things to change our laws. And how do we do it? You do it. You don't just talk about it. You break the law, and you have enough of you behind it so that you can change the law. That's how we change laws, is we have to start by breaking them and showing that there is nobody being harmed by breaking this law. And there's no criminal intent by breaking this law. And by doing so, we have to set precedents in our communities by fighting and pushing back. And that's how we can be the soldiers against this fight against this $10 trillion BlackRock has in assets. They say they're too big to fall. Well, you know what? That's not how I see it. They're too big not to fall. Much love. And people, help each other out. We need to have ownership. We need to have something to have pride in this physical world, so we can help. We can use our land to help people, right? Much love. And if you feel like supporting the channel, you can send me an email at melatonic@protonmail.com, or melatonic, MELATONIC @protonmail.com.